I'm Alexandra, 36, and a single mom to my 8-year-old daughter, Lily. We've always been close with my family, and I trusted them completely with my little girl's heart. That was until last Sunday, when I discovered something on social media that shattered everything. Finding my daughter crying in the bathroom was just the beginning. What happened in the next 24 hours changed our family forever and taught me that sometimes protecting your child means standing up to the people you love most. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button and stay until the end to see how I turned this heartbreaking situation into a powerful lesson for everyone involved. Being a single mother wasn't part of my life plan, but after my divorce 3 years ago, it's been just Lily and me against the world. My ex-husband moved across the country for work, and while he sends child support, his visits have dwindled to once or twice a year. So we've leaned heavily on my family for support, something I'm now questioning completely. Lily is this amazingly creative and sensitive child. She writes little stories, draws beautiful pictures, and has this incredible imagination. But she's always struggled with confidence. She's shy around new people and gets anxious about how others perceive her. I've worked hard to build her up to help her see how special she is, but children are fragile, especially when they're going through big life changes like their parents divorcing. Then there's my sister Megan. She's 33, 3 years younger than me, but she's always acted like she has everything figured out better than I do. From childhood, there was this competition between us that never quite resolved. Where I was quiet and bookish, Megan was popular and outgoing. Where I struggled in math, she excelled. And now, as adults, our lives couldn't look more different on the surface. Megan married her college sweetheart Thomas, who comes from money. They have this picture-perfect house in the suburbs. 2 well-behaved children, Jackson, who's 10, and Sophia, who's 7. And she doesn't work outside the home. She's on the PTA volunteers at church, and somehow always looks like she just stepped out of a magazine. Her social media is a carefully curated display of her perfect life. I, on the other hand, work full-time as a graphic designer for a marketing firm. Our apartment is modest but comfortable, and while Lily and I are happy we don't have the polished life that Megan portrays, I've never cared much about keeping up appearances, which has always bothered my sister. She's constantly giving me unsolicited advice about everything from my haircut to my parenting. Our parents, unfortunately, have always unconsciously reinforced this dynamic. Mom and Dad are wonderful people in many ways, but they put a lot of stock in appearances. Dad was a bank manager before retiring, and Mom was a real estate agent, both careers where image matters. They're always talking about what the neighbors will think or how something will look to others. They adore both their grandchildren. But I've noticed they praise Jackson and Sophia for different things than they praise Lily for. With my niece and nephew, it's all about achievements and behavior. With Lily, it's usually about how cute she looks. My brother Jake is the peacekeeper in the family. He's 30, married with no kids yet, and has always been the one to smooth things over when tensions rise. He lives about an hour away and isn't as enmeshed in the day-to-day family dynamics, which gives him a more objective perspective. The extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, generally follow Megan's lead. She's the one who plans the family gatherings, remembers everyone's birthdays, and keeps people connected. This gives her a certain amount of social power in the family structure that I've never challenged before. Looking back, I can see the tensions were building at recent family gatherings. There was the 4th of July barbecue, where Megan made a comment about Lily's table manners in front of everyone. Then the Labor Day picnic, where she compared Lily's reading level to Sophia's, even though Sophia is in the same grade because we started Lily in school a year early. Small jabs that I brushed off as typical sister stuff, not wanting to rock the boat. Last month, Lily got a part in her school's autumn performance. She was going to recite a poem and had been practicing for weeks. It wasn't a huge role, but for my shy girl, it was a big deal. She was finally coming out of her shell, and I was so proud of her for putting herself out there. The weekend before the performance, I took Lily for a haircut. We usually go to a salon that specializes in children's cuts, but they were fully booked, so we tried a new place. It was a disaster. The stylist was rushing clearly, wanting to get through her appointments before closing time. Lily's hair ended up noticeably uneven, one side about half an inch shorter than the other. She had wanted bangs, but they were cut crooked across her forehead. When we got home and Lily really looked at herself in the mirror, she burst into tears. "I can't go to school like this. Everyone will laugh at me." It took hours to calm her down, looking up hair accessories and practicing different styles to make the unevenness less noticeable. I even showed her pictures of celebrities with asymmetrical haircuts, trying to convince her it was fashionable. "You're beautiful, no matter what," I told her. "And in a few weeks it will grow out. What matters is how brave you're being about your performance." She seemed to accept this, and by the next day, she'd regained some of her excitement about the upcoming performance. We found a cute headband that helped disguise the worst of the uneven bangs, and I thought we were past the crisis. The next day was Sunday, our regular family dinner at my parents' house. As soon as we arrived, I noticed Megan looking at Lily's hair with this barely concealed smile. She kept pulling out her phone during dinner, and I caught her taking photos of Lily when she thought no one was watching. At the time, I thought maybe she was just documenting the family gathering, as she often does for her social media. I couldn't have imagined what she was actually planning. That Sunday dinner started like any other. Mom had made pot roast, Dad was talking about the neighbor's new car, and the kids were sitting at their own small table in the corner of the dining room. Everything seemed normal on the surface, but looking back, there were signs that something was off. For one thing, Lily became increasingly withdrawn as the meal progressed. She usually chatters with her cousins, but that night she was picking at her food and barely speaking. I figured she was nervous about her performance the next day, and made a mental note to have a reassuring talk with her on the drive home. Then I noticed Megan's kids, Jackson and Sophia, kept looking at their mom's phone and whispering. My nephew would snicker, then quickly compose his face when the adults looked over. My brother Jake caught my eye across the table with a questioning look, but I just shrugged. Kids being kids, I thought. About halfway through the meal, Lily asked to use the bathroom. When she hadn't returned after 15 minutes, I started to worry. "I'll go check on her," I said, pushing back from the table. The bathroom door was locked. "Lily, are you okay in there, sweetie?" All I could hear was muffled sobbing. My heart started racing immediately. "Lily, please open the door. What's wrong?" It took some coaxing, but finally the lock clicked, and I slipped inside. My daughter was sitting on the edge of the bathtub, her face blotchy and tear-stained shoulders shaking with the effort of crying quietly. "Everyone's laughing at me online," she whispered, and my world tilted on its axis. "What do you mean online? Who's laughing at you?" I asked, kneeling in front of her. "Aunt Megan made a post about me." Jackson showed me on his phone. Her voice cracked. "Everyone's saying mean things about my hair and that I have a bad attitude." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "Stay here," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I'm going to borrow Jackson's phone for a minute, and we'll figure this out together." I returned to the dining room, my face carefully neutral. "Jackson, can I see your phone for a second?" I asked. My nephew looked panicked and glanced at his mother. Megan gave an almost imperceptible shake of her head. "It's in my backpack," Jackson mumbled. "I'd like to see it now, please," I said, my voice, leaving no room for argument. Jake, sensing the tension, stood up. "Everything okay, Alex?" "I'm not sure yet," I replied, holding out my hand as Jackson reluctantly retrieved his phone from the other room. I took it and opened Facebook, which was already logged into Megan's account by she must let her kids use her social media, which is a whole other issue. And there it was posted just 2 hours earlier. Family poll time. What's worse, my niece Lily's crooked haircut or her nasty attitude? Vote in the comments. Number family fun. Number Sunday dinner entertainment. Accompanying the post were 3 unflattering photos of Lily. One zoomed in on her uneven bangs. One of her looking down at her plate with what could be interpreted as a scowl, though I knew it was her anxious face, and one taken years ago, during a tantrum when she was about 4. My hands started shaking as I scrolled through the comments. There were over 50 already. Definitely the hair. Who did that to the poor kid, oi? The attitude for sure. Some kids just need more discipline. Both. But at least the hair can be fixed. And the worst part, family members had chimed in. My Aunt Caroline, just like her mother at that age, always pouting, my cousin Patrick. Maybe if she smiled more, no one would notice the haircut. Even my own parents had liked the post, though they hadn't commented. I felt physically ill. I looked up to see Megan watching me with a strange expression, part defiance, part something else. I couldn't identify. Perhaps she was already realizing she'd crossed a line. How could you? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She's 8 years old, Megan. She's a child. The table fell silent. My mother looked confused. What's going on? I handed my father the phone and watched as my parents' faces changed when they saw what their daughter had done. It's just a bit of fun, Megan said defensively. Everyone's so sensitive these days. Kids need to toughen up. Toughen up, I repeated. My daughter is crying in the bathroom because her family, the people who are supposed to love and protect her, are publicly humiliating her. How exactly is that supposed to toughen her up? My father cleared his throat uncomfortably. Alexandra, I think you're overreacting a bit. It's just social media. Just social media. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. There's nothing just about publicly mocking a child. Would you have wanted someone to do this to Megan when she was 8? It's different, my mother interjected. Megan was just having a little fun. You know how she likes to keep her social media entertaining? In that moment, I saw with perfect clarity how the family dynamics had always worked. Megan could do no wrong. Her cruelty was excused as humor or honesty, and I was expected to absorb it all without complaint. Lily and I are leaving, I said, standing up. Take down that post, Megan. Now. You can't tell me what to do with my own social media, she replied, folding her arms. Jake stood up. Megan, take it down. This isn't right. At least one person in my family had a moral compass, but it wasn't enough. I need to take my daughter home, I said, already moving toward the bathroom. And I need to figure out how to explain to her why the people who should love her the most think it's okay to humiliate her for laughs. As Lily and I left, my family sat in uncomfortable silence. No one followed us out. No one apologized. And that told me everything I needed to know about where we stood. The drive home was quiet. Lily stared out the window, tears still streaming down her face, but silently now, as if she'd moved beyond the loud sobbing into something more profound. I kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror, my heart breaking with each passing moment. I wanted to say something comforting, something that would make this all better, but the words wouldn't come. What could I possibly say that would undo what had been done? When we were about halfway home, Lily finally spoke. Why does Aunt Megan hate me? Her voice was small, confused, like she was trying to solve a painful puzzle. Your Aunt Megan doesn't hate you, sweetheart. I said, though, I wasn't sure if that was true anymore. She made a very bad choice, a cruel choice, and it says everything about her and nothing about you. But why would she do that if she doesn't hate me? Jackson showed me all the comments. People said I was ugly and bratty. Her voice cracked on the last word. I pulled the car over. This wasn't a conversation for driving. I turned around to face my daughter reaching back to take her hand. Listen to me, Lily. You are not ugly. You are beautiful inside and out. And you are not bratty. You're a wonderful, kind, sensitive girl who feels things deeply. That's a strength, not a weakness. I squeezed her hand. What happened today was wrong. Adults are supposed to protect children, not hurt them. What your aunt did was bullying, plain and simple. But she's a grown-up, Lily said, confusion clouding her features. Grown-ups aren't supposed to be bullies. Unfortunately, some adults never learn the lessons they should in childhood. They carry their mean behavior into adulthood. But that doesn't make it right, and it doesn't mean you deserve it. We sat there for a long time talking. I tried to explain complex family dynamics in terms an 8-year-old could understand. I tried to validate her feelings while also offering perspective. But in the end, I could see the damage had been done. Something fundamental had shifted in how Lily viewed her family, her safety in the world, and perhaps even herself. When we got home, Lily asked if she could sleep in my bed. It had been months since she'd made such a request, but tonight I welcomed it. We curled up together, and I held her until she fell into an exhausted sleep, her face still puffy from crying. I, however, didn't sleep at all. I kept thinking about that Facebook post still up for all to see. I kept hearing Megan's dismissive voice, kids need to toughen up. I kept seeing my parents' faces concerned but not outraged on behalf of their granddaughter. The family I thought would always have our backs had instead stabbed us in ours. Morning came too soon. I made Lily's favorite breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes, hoping to coax a smile from her, but she just pushed the food around her plate. I don't want to go to school, she said finally. Because of your performance today, I asked gently. She nodded. Everyone's going to laugh at me. What if someone from school saw Aunt Megan's post? What if the kids find out? I hadn't even considered that possibility. Megan had a lot of Facebook friends. It wasn't beyond the realm of possibility that a parent from Lily's school had seen the poll. Would you like me to talk to your teacher? We could postpone your performance until you're feeling better. Lily's eyes welled up again. I practiced so hard, but I can't do it. Not with my hair like this. Not when everyone might know. I called the school and explained that Lily wasn't feeling well. I didn't go into details. Those would come later when I could speak to her teacher directly. For now, I just needed to give my daughter space to process what had happened. But barely 2 hours later, the school counselor called. Lily had broken down crying in class and had finally told her teacher about the Facebook post. The counselor thought it best if I picked her up for the day. When I arrived at school, Lily was sitting in the counselor's office, looking so small in the adult-sized chair. Miss Bennett, the counselor, gave me a sympathetic look. Lily shared what happened, she said quietly. We take bullying very seriously at this school, even when it comes from family members. I've talked with her about how none of this is her fault. I thanked her, grateful that at least one adult in Lily's life besides me was validating her experience. On the drive home, Lily seemed both relieved and embarrassed. I'm sorry I couldn't be brave at school, she whispered. You have nothing to be sorry for, I assured her. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is admit when we're hurting. I'm proud of you for talking to Miss Bennett. That afternoon, we had a long, heart-wrenching conversation about bullying, family betrayal, and trust. Lily asked questions that no child should have to ask, If family can hurt you like this, who can you trust? Does Grandma and Grandpa love me less than Jackson and Sophia? Will my friends at school think I'm ugly now? With each question, I saw more clearly how this incident had tapped into her already fragile self-esteem. The divorce had left its marks, and now this public humiliation was threatening to deepen those wounds. I'm scared to go back to school, Lily admitted. What if someone's parents saw the post and told their kids? What if everyone knows? It was a valid fear, and I couldn't honestly tell her it wouldn't happen. Instead, I said, if anyone says anything unkind, you tell your teacher immediately. And remember, most people would be horrified by what your aunt did. They'd be on your side, not hers. I decided to keep Lily home the next day as well. She needed time to regain her emotional footing, and I needed time to figure out how to handle this situation. That night, after Lily had finally fallen asleep, I sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad, my laptop, and a determination I'd never felt before. This wasn't just about a bad haircut or mean comments. This was about a pattern of family behavior that had been allowed to continue unchecked for too long. It was about power dynamics and the tacit permission given to certain family members to behave cruelly while others were expected to simply absorb the blows. Most importantly, it was about my daughter who deserved so much better from the people who claimed to love her. By morning, I had a plan. The first thing I did was document everything. I took screenshots of Megan's poll, all the comments, the timestamps, everything. I saved it all in a folder on my computer, labeled Lily Protection. If anyone later tried to claim I was exaggerating or making this up, I'd have the evidence. Next, I called my friend Rachel, who happens to be a family therapist. I explained the situation, and while she couldn't offer specific therapeutic advice without meeting Lily, she did give me some general guidance on how to handle family bullying. This is a serious breach of trust, Rachel said. And what worries me most is how it's been normalized in your family system. The fact that your parents didn't immediately recognize it as inappropriate suggests this kind of behavior has deep roots. So what do? I asked. Cut them off completely. That's one option, and it might be necessary temporarily, she replied. But first, I think you need to clearly communicate why this was harmful. Many family bullies genuinely don't see their behavior as bullying. They frame it as joking, as tradition, as just how we are. Breaking that pattern requires naming it explicitly. After our call, I sat down and crafted a careful educational social media post of my own. I didn't name names or share the original poll, but I did post anonymized screenshots with a thoughtful message about family bullying and its impact on children. Today, I witnessed something that broke my heart, I wrote. An adult in my child's life created a social media poll mocking her appearance and personality. Other adults joined in thinking it was funny to critique an 8-year-old child who is already feeling insecure. I've spent the last 24 hours holding my daughter as she cried and asked questions no child should have to ask, like, why does my family hate me? And, am I really that ugly? Family bullying is real, and it's devastating, precisely because family should be where a child feels safest. When the people who are supposed to protect you are the ones causing harm, it creates a wound that can last a lifetime. I'm sharing this because I want other parents to know it's okay to set boundaries with family. It's okay to call out cruel behavior, even when it comes from people you love. It's okay to prioritize your child's emotional safety over family harmony. I ended with resources about family bullying and its psychological impact. No ranting, no naming and shaming, just facts and feelings. I wanted this to be educational, not vindictive. After posting, I started sending private messages to each family member who had participated in the poll. I kept these messages calm but firm. To my Aunt Caroline, I saw your comment on the poll about Lily. I want you to know how deeply hurtful it was to her to see her great aunt comparing her to pouty Alexandra. She respects you and has always enjoyed your stories about when I was little. I'm asking you to consider how your words impact a sensitive 8-year-old girl and to please remove your comment from that post. To my cousin Patrick, your comment suggesting Lily needs to smile more to compensate for her haircut was seen by her and caused her significant distress. She's 8 years old and dealing with a haircut that already made her feel insecure. I'm disappointed that you chose to add to that insecurity instead of being the kind cousin I know you can be. Please remove your comment and consider apologizing directly to Lily. I sent similar messages to everyone who had commented or liked the post. Most were family members, but some were Megan's friends who I'd never even met. To those people, I simply wrote, "You don't know me or my daughter, but you chose to mock an 8-year-old child on social media today. I hope you'll reflect on that choice and consider removing your comment." Then I called my parents. This conversation wasn't going to be easy, but it was necessary. Alexandra, my mother, answered, her voice wary. "We were just talking about calling you." "I need you both to understand something," I said, not bothering with pleasantries. "What happened yesterday wasn't a joke or a bit of fun. It was bullying, plain and simple. And by liking that post, you both endorsed the public humiliation of your granddaughter." Now Alexandra, my father, started using his reasonable voice that had always made me feel like my concerns were overblown. "Your sister certainly didn't mean any harm. You know how she is with her social media." "That's exactly the problem," I interrupted. "Everyone knows how Megan is, and instead of expecting her to do better, you expect the rest of us to tolerate behavior that's genuinely harmful." Lily is devastated. She had to leave school early today because she was so upset. She's afraid to go to her performance tomorrow because she thinks everyone will be laughing at her. There was a long pause. Then my mother said in a smaller voice, "We didn't realize it was that serious." "That's because you didn't ask. You didn't consider how this would affect an 8-year-old child. You were more concerned with keeping the peace than with protecting Lily." Another pause. "What can we do?" my father finally asked. "You can start by acknowledging that what happened was wrong. Not just a mistake or a misjudgment, but wrong. You can apologize to Lily directly, not just through me. And you can make it clear to Megan that this kind of behavior isn't acceptable in our family." "We'll talk to her," my mother promised. "Thank you," I said. "But I also need you to know that Lily and I will be taking some time away from family gatherings until I feel confident this won't happen again. Her emotional well-being has to be my priority right now." After hanging up, I sent one final message. To Megan. This one was the hardest to write, but also the most important. "Megan, I'm not going to ask why you did what you did. I'm not going to try to make you understand how much you hurt Lily, because I think on some level you already know. What I am going to do is set a clear boundary until you take down that post to apologize sincerely to Lily and demonstrate that you understand why what you did was harmful. We won't be attending any family events where you're, quote, present. I'm not doing this out of anger or revenge. I'm doing it because my primary job as a parent is to protect my child even when the person I'm protecting her from is family." With all the messages sent, I temporarily blocked my family on social media and put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I needed space to focus on Lily without the distraction of defensive responses. Next, I called Lily's school and spoke with her teacher and the principal. I explained the situation fully, including the possibility that other parents might have seen the post. They were incredibly supportive, assuring me that they would keep an eye out for any signs of teasing and would handle it appropriately if it arose. After that, I made an appointment with a new hairstylist, one who specialized in children's hair and had excellent reviews for handling sensitive kids. They could see us the following afternoon, and the receptionist assured me they'd do everything possible to fix Lily's uneven cut. While Lily napped that afternoon, emotionally exhausted from everything that had happened, I started researching child psychologists. I wanted to be proactive about getting her support, not just for this incident, but for everything she'd been dealing with since the divorce. When she woke up, we started what I called our confidence project. We sat together with art supplies and created a poster with daily affirmations. I am kind. I am creative. I am brave. I am loved. Lily decorated each one with drawings and stickers. We hung it on her bedroom wall, where she'd see it first thing every morning. We also role-played responses if someone at school mentioned the post or her hair. Simple, direct statements like, "That was a mean thing my aunt did, and it hurt my feelings. I'd rather not talk about it." Or, "My mom and I are fixing my haircut tomorrow, but even if it looks different, that doesn't make it okay to be unkind." I wanted to empower her with words to stand up for herself, while also letting her know she didn't have to handle this alone. I emphasized that she could always come to me, her teacher, or the school counselor if anyone said anything that made her feel bad. Before bed, I reached out to a few other parents I was friendly with from Lily's class. Without going into too much detail, I explained that there had been a family issue involving social media that might affect Lily at school. I asked them to let me know if their children mentioned anything about it. Creating this small network of supportive adults around Lily felt like building a protective wall. As I tucked her in that night, Lily asked, "Are we never going to see Grandma and Grandpa again? Or Uncle Jake?" "We will," I assured her, "but right now we need a little break to figure things out. Sometimes when people hurt us, we need some space before we can work on making things better." "What about Aunt Megan?" she whispered. I stroked her hair gently. "That might take longer. What she did was very wrong, and before we spend time with her again, we need to know that she understands that and won't do something like this again." "I don't want to hate her," Lily said, "but I don't think I want to see her for a while." "That's a very mature way of looking at it," I told her. "You can be angry at someone's actions without hating them as a person. And it's okay to need time away from people who hurt you, even if they're family." As she drifted off to sleep, I sat beside her bed, watching her peaceful face and making a silent promise. I would never again allow anyone to make her feel less than the wonderful person she is, no matter who they were or what family ties bound us. When I finally checked my phone the next morning, I had 27 missed calls, 43 text messages, and numerous social media notifications. The family volcano had erupted. The first wave was defensive. My Aunt Caroline, "I think you're blowing this out of proportion. It was just a silly Facebook post." My cousin Patrick, "No one meant any harm. Lily needs to learn to take a joke." Even relatives who hadn't participated felt the need to weigh in family business should stay private, not be aired on social media. My parents called 3 times each message, increasingly agitated. The final one from my father, Alexandra. "You're tearing this family apart over nothing. Your sister is upset, your mother is crying, and all because you couldn't handle a little teasing. Call us back immediately." Then came the unexpected call from Thomas Megan's husband. He wasn't usually one to get involved in family drama, preferring to stay in the background while Megan took center stage. "How dare you publicly shame my wife?" he began, not bothering with a greeting. Do you have any idea what you've done? Her friends are messaging her. People from church are asking questions. You've made her look like a monster. Thomas, I said calmly, your wife posted a poll inviting people to mock an 8-year-old child's appearance and personality. She did that herself. I simply pointed out why it was harmful. She was just having a bit of fun, he insisted. You've always been too sensitive, and now you're turning Lily into a victim just like you. I took a deep breath. I'm not going to argue with you, Thomas. What Megan did was bullying, plain and simple. If pointing that out makes people uncomfortable, maybe they should examine why they're more upset about being called out than about an adult humiliating a child. I hung up before he could respond. I had more important things to focus on than defending myself to people who couldn't see the fundamental wrongness of what had happened. To my surprise, the next call was from Jake. Unlike the others, his voice was quiet, thoughtful. Hey, Alex. How's Lily doing? Not great, I admitted. She's scared to go back to school, worried everyone will have seen the post. I'm sorry, he said, and I could hear the genuine regret in his voice. I should have said something at dinner when I first saw Megan taking those photos. I knew something felt off. It's not your fault, I told him, but I appreciate you checking in. The poll was wrong, Jake continued. I told Megan that last night, and Mom and Dad too. They're all acting like you're overreacting, but I don't think you are. Lily's just a kid. She doesn't deserve to be put on display like that. His support meant more than I could express. Thank you, Jake. That means a lot. What can I do to help? He asked. I want Lily to know that not everyone in the family thinks this was okay. We talked about him maybe coming over on the weekend, giving Lily some time to process everything first. It was the first conversation with a family member that didn't leave me feeling drained or defensive. Throughout the day, more messages trickled in. Some family members were taking sides, others were trying to play peacemaker, suggesting that both Megan and I had made mistakes and should just apologize to each other, as if posting a poll, mocking a child, and standing up against that behavior were somehow equivalent actions. Then around 4 in the afternoon, something unexpected happened. I received a private message from Samantha, Megan's best friend since college. Alexandra, you don't know me well, but I wanted to reach out. I saw Megan's poll when she first posted it, and I didn't comment because it made me uncomfortable. I should have said something then, instead of staying silent. As a teacher, I see the impact of this kind of public humiliation on children every day. I want you to know that I've spoken to Megan privately about why this crossed a line. I don't know if it will make a difference, but I felt I needed to try. I'm truly sorry for what Lily is going through. It was the first message from someone in Megan's circle that acknowledged the real harm done. I thanked Samantha for her compassion and for speaking up when it would have been easier to stay silent. About 6 hours after I'd posted my educational message about family bullying, the tide began to turn. My cousin Emily, who had initially defended Megan, sent a thoughtful apology. I've been thinking about this all day, and I realize now how I would feel if someone did this to my son. You're right. Family should be where kids feel safest. I'm sorry I didn't see that right away. One by one, several family members sent genuine apologies. Some admitted they'd gone along with the poll without thinking about how it would affect Lily. Others acknowledged a pattern of behavior in our family that had gone unchallenged for too long. Around 7 that evening, there was a knock at my door. When I looked through the peephole, I was startled to see my parents standing there. I hadn't expected them to show up in person. I opened the door, but didn't invite them in immediately. Lily's asleep, I said quietly. She had a rough day. My mother's eyes were red-rimmed. We'd like to talk if that's okay. We've been doing a lot of thinking. I led them to the kitchen, keeping my voice low. I'm listening. We were wrong, my father said the words, seeming to cost him considerable effort. When you tried to tell us how serious this was, we dismissed your concerns. We've always done that, haven't we? Treated Megan's behavior as acceptable and expected you to just deal with it. Yes, I said simply. You have. We saw some of the responses to your post, my mother added. People sharing stories about how family bullying affected them as children into adulthood. It made us realize this isn't just about one Facebook poll. It's about a pattern we've allowed and even encouraged. It was more self-awareness than I'd ever heard from my parents. I appreciate you recognizing that, I said cautiously. But Lily's the one who was hurt the most by this. She's the one who deserves an apology. We'd like to apologize to her, my father said, when she's ready to see us. And we've spoken to Megan. Made it clear that this behavior isn't something we'll support or excuse anymore. While they were at my apartment, Megan was sending increasingly desperate texts. The first few were angry. Thanks for turning everyone against me. Always playing the victim. You're teaching Lily to be oversensitive. But as the evening wore on, her tone changed. Can we please talk about this? I didn't think it would upset her so much. Everyone's acting like I'm some kind of monster. And finally, I'm sorry. I really am. Please let me apologize to Lily. I didn't respond to any of these messages. I needed time to process my own feelings, and more importantly, I needed to talk to Lily before making any decisions about moving forward with Megan. After my parents left, promising to give us space, but staying in touch, I checked on Lily. She was awake, sitting up in bed with her stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. I heard voices, she said. Was that Grandma and Grandpa? I sat on the edge of her bed. Yes, it was. They wanted to talk about what happened. They realized they made a mistake by not standing up for you right away, and they want to apologize. Lily considered this. Are they mad at Aunt Megan? They're disappointed in her choices, I said carefully. They've told her that what she did was wrong and hurtful. Is everyone in the family talking about me now? Her voice was small, worried. They're talking about what happened, I clarified. And many of them have realized that it wasn't okay. Several people have apologized and said they should have been kinder. Do I have to forgive them? She asked. It was such an insightful question from someone so young. Forgiveness is a gift you give when you're ready, I told her. It's not something anyone can demand from you. Right now, you're still hurting, and that's completely understandable. Healing takes time, and so does rebuilding trust. What about Aunt Megan? She texted you, didn't she? Sometimes I forgot how perceptive Lily was. Yes, she did. She says she's sorry and wants to apologize to you directly. But that's entirely up to you. You don't have to talk to her until you feel ready, if ever. Lily was quiet for a long moment. I don't hate her, she said finally. But I don't want to see her right now. It still hurts too much. That's a very mature way of looking at it, I said, stroking her hair. We can take all the time you need. As I tucked her back in, Lily asked one more question. Mom, did you know that Aunt Megan got in trouble at work because of her post? This was news to me. No, I didn't. How did you hear that? I heard Grandpa tell you in the kitchen. He said someone from her church committee saw it, and now she might not get to be in charge of the children's program anymore. I hadn't caught that part of the conversation. It seemed Megan's actions were having consequences beyond just family discord. While I took no pleasure in her difficulties, I did hope it might drive home the seriousness of what she'd done in a way that family disapproval alone might not. Sometimes when we make hurtful choices, there are consequences we didn't expect, I said. That's part of growing up and learning to think about how our actions affect others. Even for grown-ups, Lily asked. Especially for grown-ups, I confirmed. Because we should know better. As Lily drifted back to sleep, I thought about all that had unfolded in just 2 days. The hurt was still raw, the trust still broken, but small shifts were happening. People were reflecting, apologizing, reconsidering long-established patterns. It wasn't resolution, not yet, but it was movement in the right direction. 1 week after the Facebook poll incident, we held a family meeting at my apartment. It was my idea, but on my terms. I wanted Lily to be on her home turf, where she felt safe and in control. I also wanted the symbolism of my family coming to us, rather than expecting us to return to the scene of the hurt as if nothing had happened. Not everyone was invited. I included only my parents, Jake and Megan. No spouses, no children, just the core family members who needed to address what had happened. Thomas had protested being excluded, but I stood firm. This wasn't about him or his feelings. Before they arrived, I sat with Lily and made sure she understood what was happening. You don't have to talk if you don't want to, I assured her. You can go to your room any time you feel uncomfortable. And if you decide at the last minute that you don't want to be part of this at all, that's completely okay too. She nodded solemnly. I want to try. Miss Bennett says it's good to talk about your feelings instead of keeping them inside. Miss Bennett, the school counselor, had been a godsend this past week. She'd met with Lily every day, giving her a safe space to process her emotions and strategies for handling any comments at school. So far, there had been no indication that any of Lily's classmates knew about the poll, which was an enormous relief. The new hairstylist had worked wonders, too. She'd evened out the worst of the uneven cuts, styled Lily's bangs in a way that looked intentional rather than haphazard. And best of all, she'd treated Lily like a VIP the entire time, rebuilding her confidence with every snip of the scissors. When my family arrived, they were subdued, uncertain. My mother brought Lily's favorite cookies, a peace offering that Lily accepted with cautious politeness. We sat in the living room, an uncomfortable silence settling over us until I spoke. Thank you all for coming. The reason we're here is to address what happened last week and to talk about how we move forward as a family. But first, I think there are some things that need to be said directly to Lily. I looked at my parents, then at Megan, my expression making it clear that this wasn't optional. My father went first, turning to face his granddaughter with an earnestness I rarely saw from him. Lily, I owe you an apology. When I saw that post about you, I should have immediately recognized how hurtful it was and stood up for you. Instead, I dismissed it as not serious. That was wrong of me, and I'm truly sorry. My mother reached for Lily's hand. I'm sorry too, sweetheart. Grandparents are supposed to protect their grandchildren, not allow them to be hurt. I failed you, and I want you to know that it won't happen again. Lily nodded, not quite making eye contact, but clearly listening. Then it was Megan's turn. My sister looked different somehow, smaller, less sure of herself. The polished exterior was still there, but something underneath had shifted. Lily, she began, her voice cracking slightly. What I did was cruel. There's no excuse for it. I took something you were already feeling bad about, your haircut, and I made it public. I invited people to laugh at you. No adult should ever do that to a child. I'm deeply sorry for hurting you. She paused, visibly struggling with what came next. The truth is, I've been jealous. Your mom lets you be exactly who you are, creative, sensitive, unique. She celebrates all the wonderful things that make you Lily. I haven't always done that with my own children. I've been too focused on how things look from the outside, on being perfect. And when I saw you and your mom together, it made me feel inadequate somehow. But that's my problem, not yours. You deserved better from your aunt, and I hope someday you can forgive me." It was perhaps the most honest thing I'd ever heard Megan say. Lily looked at her thoughtfully, then said, "Miss, Bennett says that understanding why someone hurt you doesn't make the hurt go away, but it can help you make sense of it." "Miss Bennett sounds very wise," Megan said quietly. Jake, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Lily, I want to apologize too. I knew something wasn't right at that dinner, but I didn't speak up until later. I should have been braver like you've been through all of this." After the apologies, we talked as a family about new ground rules. No more public posts about anyone, especially children, without explicit permission. No more dismissing hurtful behavior as just joking or harmless fun. A commitment to calling out unkindness when we see it, even when it's uncomfortable. And most importantly, I added, we need to respect each other's boundaries. Lily and I may need time before we're ready for regular family gatherings again. That doesn't mean we're holding grudges. It means we're taking care of ourselves while we heal. To my surprise, everyone agreed without argument. The shock waves from this incident had reached far enough that even my conflict-averse family recognized the need for real change. As the meeting wound down, Lily asked if she could be excused to her room. After she left, I addressed Megan directly. "I appreciate your apology, and I think it was sincere. But rebuilding trust will take time. For now, any time you spend with Lily will need to be supervised, and only when she's comfortable with it." Megan nodded, accepting this boundary without protest, another sign of how significantly this experience had affected her. The following week brought Lily's rescheduled school performance. With her confidence bolstered by her new haircut, supportive messages from family members, and the knowledge that she had stood up for herself in a difficult situation, she decided she wanted to participate after all. I sat in the audience holding my breath as she walked onto the stage. She looked so small under the lights, but her voice rang out clear and strong as she recited her poem. When she finished, the applause was thunderous, and I wasn't the only one wiping away tears. Afterward, several parents approached me, not to mention any social media drama, but to compliment Lily's performance and invite her for playdates. The school community had rallied around her without even knowing the full story, and I was profoundly grateful. In the weeks that followed, an unexpected positive outcome emerged from this painful experience. My educational post about family bullying had resonated with many people beyond our immediate circle. I began receiving messages from other parents sharing similar experiences and asking for advice. How did you find the courage to stand up to your family? What words did you use to explain this to your child? How do you rebuild trust after something like this happens? I wasn't an expert, but I shared what I'd learned, connecting people with resources and validation. Almost accidentally, I became an advocate against family bullying, creating a small online community of supportive parents dedicated to breaking harmful patterns. Lily, too, was transforming in subtle but significant ways. A month after the incident, her teacher called to tell me that Lily had stood up for a classmate who was being teased about his glasses. She told the other children that making fun of how people look is never okay, even if you think it's just a joke, Miss Bennett reported. She was so confident and clear. You should be very proud. I was beyond proud. My daughter was taking her painful experience and using it to protect others, the most beautiful outcome I could have imagined. Rebuilding relationships with Megan was a slower process. We started with supervised visits of Lily, Megan, and me, together, at a neutral location like a park or cafe. Megan was on her best behavior, genuinely attentive to Lily's comfort level and interests. After the third such visit, Lily confided, "Aunt Megan seems different now. Less scary. People can change when they realize they've been hurtful, I explained. The important thing is that the change is real and lasting. Family therapy sessions revealed deeper issues that had been simmering for generations. My parents' emphasis on appearances and success had created a competitive dynamic between Megan and me that had never been addressed. Megan's insecurities about her own parenting had manifested as criticism of mine. The Facebook poll had been merely a symptom of these underlying problems. As painful as the incident had been, I began to see that it had forced necessary changes that might otherwise have taken years to achieve, if ever. Sometimes it takes a crisis to break entrenched patterns and create space for healthier ones to form. 6 months after the Facebook poll, that changed everything. Our family looks different in ways both subtle and profound. The surface-level harmony that masked deeper problems has been replaced by something more authentic, more respectful, and ultimately more loving. Lily has blossomed in ways that amaze me daily. The sensitive child, who once shrank from attention, now raises her hand in class, performs in school plays, and stands up for herself and others with quiet confidence. The haircut incident that once seemed so devastating is now something she can talk about openly, even with a touch of pride in how she handled it. "Remember when I thought my whole life was ruined because of a bad haircut?" she asked me recently, giggling at the memory. Now I know that looking different isn't the worst thing. Being mean is way worse. As for me, I've learned lessons about motherhood and boundaries that will guide me for years to come. I always thought being a good daughter, sister, and family member meant keeping the peace at all costs. Now I understand that true family loyalty sometimes requires disrupting that peace to protect what matters most. The journey hasn't been easy. There were days of pain so acute I wondered if our family would ever recover. There were awkward conversations, tearful revelations, and moments of doubt. But through it all, I held on to one unshakable truth. My primary responsibility was to protect my child, even when that meant standing against my own family. My relationship with Jake has deepened in unexpected ways. My brother has become a true ally, not just a peacekeeper who smooths things over, but someone who stands firmly for what's right. He stepped into the role of uncle with new intentionality, making special time for Lily and creating a relationship with her that's entirely their own. Megan has done the hardest work of all. Facing the mirror of her own behavior forced her to examine patterns she'd carried since childhood. In therapy, she's begun to address the perfectionism and insecurity that drove her to tear others down to build herself up. It's a long process, and there are still difficult days, but the sister I see now is more authentic, more vulnerable, and ultimately more likable than the polished, judgmental person she once presented to the world. My parents, too, have changed. They've had to reckon with their role in creating a family dynamic where appearance mattered more than kindness, where keeping up with the Joneses sometimes overshadowed keeping up with their grandchildren's emotional needs. They're making efforts now to connect with Lily on her terms, attending her art shows, listening to her stories, valuing her sensitive spirit rather than trying to toughen her up. The Facebook poll that once seemed like the end of our family as we knew, it turned out to be a beginning instead. By breaking unhealthy patterns that had persisted for generations, we created space for something better to grow in their place. If there's one message I hope others take from our experience, it's this: protecting your child from bullying doesn't stop at the schoolyard or the internet. Sometimes the most important boundaries you'll ever set are with the people who share your blood and your history. It's not about cutting people off. It's about loving them enough to require better from them, especially when it comes to how they treat the most vulnerable members of the family. Lily put it best in her 8-year-old wisdom. Sometimes people who love you still hurt you, but if they really love you, they'll try to do better once they know they hurt you. And if they don't try to do better, maybe their love isn't the kind that's good for you. Out of the mouths of babes, as they say. As we move forward, I carry with me the knowledge that standing firm in what I knew was right, even when it was painfully difficult, was the greatest gift I could have given my daughter. I showed her that she is worth protecting, that her feelings matter, and that no relationship, no matter how important, is worth sacrificing her sense of safety and self-worth. That lesson will serve her long after she's forgotten the details of one hurtful Facebook poll or one bad haircut. And that ultimately is what parenting is all about, equipping our children with the tools and confidence they'll need long after we're gone. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. Have you ever had to stand up to family members to protect your child? How do you balance family loyalty with your child's emotional well-being? Leave a comment below. Like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe for more stories about navigating complex family dynamics, and share with any parent who might need to hear that it's okay to set boundaries, even with the people we love most. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the bravest thing we can do as parents is to be the person we needed when we were children.